Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about Stone of Farewell, the second novel in the Memory Sauron Thorn trilogy by Tad Williams, a behemoth of the fantasy genre. And I say behemoth because these books are chunky. Anyway, so what is Stone of Farewell about? Well, I finished reading it and I'm trying to figure that out myself. Um, Basically, at the end of the Dragonbone Cheer, we had this major clash between King Elias and Prince Jossel's forces. Um, Jossel is now on the run; his forces scattered, and he sets out to make his way towards a location where he can basically recoup and get ready for another big battle, a last stand against Elias's forces and the Storm King's forces, essentially. Along the way, he tries to basically gather up his allies who have spread to the winds and form new alliances as he goes. Um, that's the situation with him. With Simon, at the end of the Dragonbone Cheer, the events there left him marked with his red hair now having a streak of white, and he's earned the name Snowlock. Um, he he and his friends they were essentially rescued by supposed allies who, as this book starts up, we realize are anything but. Um, and meanwhile, whilst all of this is happening, there's still the quest to bring together the three swords, the three legendary swords that will give them the power to stop the rise of Iniluki, the Storm King. Um, so this book was slow, ponderous, ridiculously bloated. Um, if someone tried to write a book like this in 2024, I'm fairly confident 3/4 of it would get left on the editing floor. Like, as much as it's big and heavy, it's not without purpose. Like, everything contributes to the story. Like Tad Williams, I thought the Dragonbone Cheer was slow. In this one, Tad Williams shows us that was basically him going at breakneck speed. Like, Tad just takes his time to just he just takes his time to just marinate in everything in this book. We get introduced to a bunch of new cultures and peoples and history. Our characters continue to develop as their stories unfold. We spend a lot of time with our characters as they continue to grow past their essential trope starting point. Only the main characters, mind you, the forces of evil in this book, they get almost nothing in terms of character development, which is one of my pet peeves. This is now two books where, like, the evil forces per se, they remain very much their standard tropes. We don't see them change, we don't see them evolve, we don't learn anything much about them, beyond like the just like the absolute basics, more or less. It's, like I said, it's bloat, but it's not bloat without purpose. It's not meandering in the way that certain other epic fantasy series just went completely off the rails. Instead, it's bloat that contributes itself to the story with not necessarily with details that you may want, but it does contribute to the story. Um, yeah, like this is it. It's a middle book. It's very much a middle book, but at the same time, it kind of feels like the story that started in the Dragonbone Cheer just kind of continued. Like, there was no significant time skip. Everyone just picked up practically immediately from where they left off. It felt almost like this was just one massive book, and the Dragonbone Cheer essentially just stopped at a good stopping point, um, just to adhere to a standard, like an arbitrary page count or something like that. The story just flows so seamlessly. Um, Yeah, like it was good. Don't get me wrong. Like I enjoyed my time with it. Going into the series, like one thing I was warned about over and over, it's slow, it's ponderous. Tad takes his time to just marinate in things. So I just kind of kicked back and just enjoyed that ride. And I do see why this series is so beloved. Like, Tad Williams is a wonderful writer at the end of the day. He has just so many, just the way he phrases things and just the way he communicates the story. That's a joy to read in and of itself. Um, like he just tells it so lushly and so vibrantly. Like as much as I didn't necessarily care for a lot of the content in here, at the same time, it's not that I didn't enjoy myself going through it. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. I just kind of I just kind of marinated in it and just kind of floated along as the story went. Very zen. I just let it take me where it will. I went into this book accepting it for what it was, and in that regard, I can't say that this book disappointed me in any way. Um, the one thing I do want to mention is that we have this in this book. We have a story surrounding Miriam. It's a very disturbing situation, to be honest. Like I'm surprised that it's not more discussed in, well, maybe I just haven't seen the videos where like people point out how potentially problematic this is, but the situation is very morally and ethically sketchy. Um, it's not done without purpose, but it's it's very uncomfortable to read because like when I face storylines of this nature, I can't help but think of like the women in my life and how I would feel if they were in a similar situation and forced to endure these circumstances, and like that helps me empathize with these particular stories and the characters who go through them. I think on a much deeper level, um, and yeah, like I did not like that situation that she was in, as much as it seemed for the most part. Like it's a very blurry line. I don't want to kind of discuss it, even though you can probably find a lot of information about it online. Like I personally don't want to spoil it, but it's very ambiguous, very disturbing. Um, so maybe I'll just say put flag like a trigger warning, content warning, whatever you want to put on this. But be careful. That Miriam story is disturbing. And the other thing that's disturbing about this book and this series so far is just like I'm a bit surprised and delighted by the horror element in these stories. Like these books get dark. There are some moments in here that yeah they I like only recently I remember like seeing some videos online where creators were talking, well, it's not recently at this point, it's been quite a few months, but like creators were talking about fantasy worlds I would love to live in and I wouldn't want to live in, and like my input on that whole discussion is that I have yet to read a fantasy world that is a place I would want to consider living, and that very much applies to this world. Some of the things that Tad Williams gets up to in here with the characters and what they do and their personalities and the way they are and their acts, essentially, their it's some dark stuff, and it because Tad Williams just delights in just marinating in every scene and just lushly telling it all out. Like he doesn't it doesn't become like horror, like um it doesn't become like pseudo pornographic in terms of like how horrific it is, but it is he tends to communicate these situations, like the most terrible of these situations, in a way where he implies it and you have to you kind of have to infer what's being told to you. So yeah, like the honestly, like given Todd's usual writing style, those horrific elements, they kind of add a little bit of flavor into the book at the points when they hit, and just keep I don't know how to describe it. It just made things a little more interesting. Like it helped to just kind of emphasize that the stakes are high in the story, because given how just slow and ponderously things progress, it doesn't always feel like the stakes are high. Like for example, Joss was technically fleeing the defeat of his army, trying to make his way to this last bastion where he can hold out, but the flight is more of a is more of a leisurely stroll, in terms of the pace at which he flees. So like it kind of helps to like these more horrific elements kind of helps to underline the fact that the stakes can get high in this story. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Stone of Farewell. Solid middle book. Not much goes on, but still somehow a decent enough reading experience. I have to say, like, I like these books, but I'm not blown away by them so far. And I went into them with the intention that I would read the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy, I'll read the novella, and then I would dive straight into The Last King of Ostenard in time for when the final book comes out, which should be pretty soon at this point. But I don't think I have that. I don't think I have that much gas in me when it comes to this series. I'll probably stop at the end of Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I'll read the novella, and I'll leave that series for when it's completed, and I kind of want like almost like a cozy classic read again to dive into. I'll add it to my long list of series sequels that I need to get to. Trust me, there's a list. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Stone of Farewell. Decent read, and onwards to Green Angel Tower, where that book is almost as big as these previous two combined. Here we go. If you made it this far into the video, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.